Thank you for joining us online here at Fam Church as we begin our Christmas series, The Force Awakened. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button below and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And go out to Facebook at facebook.com/famchurch and give us a like. And now, our lead pastor, Brian Lane.
And this morning we are starting a new series to wrap up the new year. It's a Christmas series, but we are linking it, or I am linking it to another phenomenon that is coming upon this country in the next couple of weeks. Star Wars Episode 7. Yes. Woo! I already have my tickets to go see it. I'm ready, okay? But I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and when I saw this opportunity to create a message series with Star Wars and Christmas, I was excited. I was happy. I was ready to go. And what I found out, though, this week was I got a text message from Greg on Wednesday night that another church in Lakeland is doing the exact same series with the exact same title. Now, this isn't something that we downloaded off the internet. I thought of this all by myself, or so I thought. And then this morning I posted it on Facebook, and one of the pastors that I worked for, a guy in Boston, Lou Zananti, he comments on my status and says, "We're doing the exact same series here." So, I'm not as creative or as brilliant as I thought I was. I was a little bit disappointed. But Christmas and Star Wars, you may be wondering, how do the two relate? Well, this is how I'm going to connect them. We are in this season called Advent. And if you grew up in a traditional church, you probably know what Advent is. But Advent is where the church anticipates and commemorates the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. It's done through candles. There are 5 candles of Advent. 4 of them represent something that Jesus brought with him to this earth, and the 5th one, the white one, represents Jesus. And how this is supposed to work is each Sunday before Christmas, we're supposed to light one of the candles, and then on Christmas Eve, we're supposed to light the middle candle so that all of them are glowing. Now, in order for this to happen, we would have had to start this last week, and we couldn't do that. And so we're starting a week late, and so our message series is actually going to go the Sunday past Christmas, but we are still going to light the Jesus candle on Christmas Eve. But this is the 4 non-white candles. They have a symbol. They have a word attached to each one of them, okay? And the 4 words that are attached to these 4 candles are going to be the main point of each of the messages in this series, okay? And the four words are hope, peace, joy, and love. And we're going to see that how God, in his coming to earth in the form of Jesus, awakened the force of hope, awakened the force of joy, awakened the force of peace, awakened the force of love. And that's where we're going to be at. And this new movie, this new Star Wars movie, it takes place 30 years after the last movie, The Return of the Jedi. And I have to say, by the title, I was a little bit confused because when you're left at the end of Return of the Jedi, you think everything is great, right? The Empire has destroyed the rebels have destroyed the second Death Star. Darth Vader and the Emperor are dead. There's no more Dark Lord ruling over the universe. Luke Skywalker is now a Jedi Knight, and he's ready to go and train people on how to become a Jedi. And so when I watched the end of that movie, my thought was the next movie was going to be how the rebels just swept through the galaxy and conquered the galaxy and brought peace and unity and restored the order of the Jedis. I mean, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. But when this movie comes out, the title has a different twist to it. It talks about a force being reawakened. It got lost somehow. The force got lost somehow. But here's the deal. We live in a world where some forces have disappeared as well. See, things were lost in the Garden of Eden a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. These things were lost. And it's not, I guess it didn't happen in a galaxy far away. It happened in our galaxy, but it happened way back in the book of Genesis a long time ago. Something happened. And when we did our series on relationships, we looked at the events around what happened when the world fell, when things went down, when things went bad, when things got all messed up. And it all started with Adam and Eve eating this piece of fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And with that eating of the fruit, man and woman gave over the rule of this world. They gave it from themselves under God's authority to sin and the authority of a dark and oppressive ruler named Satan. And with sin and Satan taking control, hope was lost, peace was lost, joy was lost, and love was lost. It was left dark. But see, a light has dawned. A light has dawned, and that's why we have these candles. That's why we're lighting these candles, to represent the light of the coming of Jesus. And as I said, the first candle that we are going to light this morning is the candle of hope. And I forgot to pre-light this, so I hope it stays lit. I don't want hope going out in the middle of our service. That wouldn't look good, would it? And I know that if you've been around FAM since I've been here, we've kind of talked about hope quite a few times. I mean, when I first got here, we had that series called Hope, and then we had Hope Fest, and then we had Hope Sunday. And so hope has been kind of a theme, but I think there's a reason for it. I think God is trying to say something to our church. He's trying to tell us that there are many people out there that do not have hope, that have lost all hope. Yes, there are a lot of people in this country who think they have all they need. They have nice, comfortable life, and they feel like there really is no need for anything else. They think there's really nothing that can make their life any better than it is. Can I tell you this morning that if you are one of those people, if you are here this morning and you are saying, you know what, I don't need anything more, I've got all I could possibly need, I got a challenge for you. For the next 30 days, I would challenge you to pray this prayer. I dare you to pray this prayer for 30 days in a row. Just pray, God, show me how sinful I am and how much I need hope. You want a messed up life and pray that prayer for 30 days when you don't think there's any need for hope and things are going to start to get messed up, okay? It'll wreck your world. But see, there's still many people out there that look and they just don't see hope anywhere at all. They feel like things are never going to change. They feel like things are never going to get better. They see, ISIS. They just see ISIS on the news all the time. ISIS going crazy. ISIS doing crazy things. And they're like, oh my gosh, there is no hope. ISIS is taking everything out. Or they hear the news story of Turkey shooting down a Russian jet. And they say, oh, here we go. World War III is about to start. Turkey's shooting down Russian jets. Or maybe it's that you've been in this place since the Great Recession and you lost your job and things got bad and you didn't know. You haven't been able to recover from that. You've been in a place for years where you've been working hard, but you haven't been able to make the same money that you made before, and you're saying to yourself, man, there's no hope. Or maybe there's a force that has gotten a hold of your life, like drugs, alcohol, pornography, or sex, and there feels like there is little hope of being free. Now, some of us, we hear all this darkness and gloom talk, and we're completely oblivious to all of that. Your mind is just on a completely different level. You're more on the level with our video, and you're thinking about Christmas, right? Are my Christmas presents going to rock? Is there hope that I'm going to get a computer underneath the tree? Maybe mom and dad is going to get me that iPhone 6S Plus, and it's going to be under the tree. Or maybe your hope is Santa is going to leave you a Lexus in your driveway, just like that car commercial. I'm not going to lie, if Santa leaves me a Lexus, I'm selling it and using the money for something else, okay? That's what I'm doing. And I probably just wrecked it because Santa probably heard that. Now he won't bring me anything. But can you think of things that you've hoped for? Things like that. I remember when the whole video game system craze took off back when I was young. I mean, it was just this Atari 2600. That was the big system that came on the scene, okay? And everybody was buying this thing. Everybody had an Atari 2600 in their home, except for me. And so how many of you guys in here had the Atari 2600? All right, we got a few Atari 2600s in here. All right, and and if you're sitting there and you're going, okay, Atari, I had an Xbox, I had a PlayStation. Atari, what are you talking about? Listen, this Atari was legit. Because before we had Atari, we had Pong, okay? This is what Pong looked like, all right? That's what we had. And so Atari 2600, we thought the world had been changed and transformed because of it. And PlayStation users and Xbox users, you have no idea how bad the struggle was when you had to just play Pong, okay? Right? I mean, come on. But we didn't have an Atari because my parents just couldn't afford it. Well, in 1982, this new game system came out. It was called ColecoVision. And it was far better graphics, far better everything than the Atari 2600. And so I decided, you know what? I haven't had a game system, and so I am getting this game system at all costs. I started to formulate a plan. I started to come up with a way that I was going to get this game system so that I could have this thing at home. One, because we didn't have a game system, but two, I wanted to have the best, and I wanted to be able to go to my friends and say, yeah, you got that Atari 2600, but I got the ColecoVision, and I am better than you. And so starting in September, my mind started to work on a plot and a plan to get this thing in my house, okay? And so I started to think, how could I get this? Because I knew my mom and dad couldn't afford the $175 that it cost when it came out. And I know you're sitting there thinking, that's a great price. I just paid $500 for an Xbox One. Well, can I tell you that if you put that in today's dollars, the Atari or the ColecoVision actually costs $750. So your Xbox is a pretty good deal. But I came up with this plan starting in September. My mom and dad had this friend that was fairly well off. And so my plan was this. I was going to work him until Christmas, and he bought me this gift. And that's exactly what I did. I spent the next 4 months talking to him and asking and begging and pleading and saying, dude, give me this thing. It's awesome. It's great. And he never answered me as to whether or not I was going to get it. There I was, waiting and waiting and waiting for Christmas. See, I had this hope that something great was going to be under the Christmas tree that year. I had hope that the single greatest gift I had received in my life was going to be sitting under that tree. I still remember how excited I was that Christmas, and my hope was not disappointed. That Christmas, I received a ColecoVision, and for the next couple of years, my friends wanted to come to my house and play video games rather than their Atari 2600 because I had the better system. But this whole deal with me and the ColecoVision is a great picture of what the hope that is represented in this candle looks like with the coming of Jesus. How so? Well, to look deeper into this, we are going to look at the verses that you're supposed to read on this Sunday with lighting the candle of hope. And it's Isaiah chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. And so if you could turn to Isaiah chapter 9, Isaiah is in the back half of the Old Testament. It's after Psalms and Proverbs. And so if you see those, keep turning. But if you do not have a Bible with you or you have no idea where the book of Isaiah is at, don't worry. We're going to put it on the screen behind me. And if you're here this morning and you don't have a Bible at all, stop by our Fam Connection Center and they will put a brand new Bible in your hands. Okay, this is what it says in Isaiah chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. Nevertheless, there will be no more gloom for those who were in distress. In the past, he humbled the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, but in the future, he will honor Galilee of the nations by the way of the sea, beyond the Jordan. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. You have enlarged the nation and increased their joy. They rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest, as warriors rejoice when dividing the plunder. For as in the day of Midian's defeat, you have shattered the yoke that burdens them, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressors. Every warrior's boot used in battle and every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, will be fuel for the fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. All right, so before we get into the text a little bit deeper, let's kind of break down. Let's talk about Isaiah first of all. Let's talk about who Isaiah was. And he was a prophet. He was one of the most well-known prophets in the Bible. So the first question that we need to answer then is, what is a prophet? And see, many people, when they hear that word, they take it to mean it's somebody that hears from God as to what the future is going to be. They get visions and dreams about what's going to happen, like they're sleeping one night and they have this dream of the United States being destroyed, and they wake up and they go, God just spoke to me and told me this whole country is going to be destroyed in 200 years. And in this day and age, people expect a prophet to speak something personal about their lives. A friend of mine a few years ago went to a prophecy conference. I shared this on a Wednesday night one time, but he went to a prophecy conference, and how it worked was they had worship, okay, and then after worship, the prophet stood down on the floor, and if you wanted a word from the prophet, you came forward, and he would speak a word to you about your future, about your life. And if you needed to know more information and more detail, if you gave him some money, he would give you more information and more detail. Okay, isn't that a great gig there? I got to tell you, that is making a profit, but that is not being a prophet. Okay, that's fortune telling. But that is what many followers of Christ think of when they think of a prophet. But that's not what God means when he is talking about a prophet. The role of the prophet is someone who speaks God's word. Okay, it doesn't matter what form that takes. Me standing up here on a Sunday morning and speaking the word from the word of God, this is doing the role of a prophet. Okay, you in your Sunday school class teaching the people the word of God, that is you being a prophet, fulfilling this role of a prophet. Now, if God comes and he speaks to you a word about the future, then yes, you speak that out to people, then you are fulfilling the role of a prophet. But it's not just about the future. So many people look at a prophet and think it all has to be about the future, but it simply is not. It's just a man or a woman who speaks the word of God. Isaiah, he did both things. He spoke the word of God, and he also got words about the future and what was going to happen. And so there's this preaching aspect of his message, and then there's a descriptive aspect of his message that talks about the future. And as we come into chapter 9, Isaiah is transitioning from being a preacher of the word to telling of future events. See, in chapter 8, he lets the Israelites know that the Assyrians are coming and they are going to tear up the land. Okay, who are the Assyrians? They are some bad donkey people, if you know what I mean. They became the first of the large ancient empires, okay? They conquered the known world at the time, the modern-day Middle East. Their armies swept through the land, destroying cities, nations, and everyone that stood in their way. And they were brutal, they were aggressive, and they were bad. They would come into your town. They would invade the land. They would kill people, okay? They would kill the officials. They would kill all of the military men, and they would take then and slice their heads off, and then take their heads and stack them outside the city gates in giant pyramids as a form of warning. They would stack their heads outside of the territory on the roads leading into that territory just to tell everybody the Assyrians were here, we are bad, and we'll do the same thing to you if you mess with us. This is who these guys were. They killed first and asked questions later. And they were coming, they were invading Israel. And Isaiah was telling them that Assyria is going to come and they are going to invade, and it's going to be a dark time. They are not going to be able to worship God the way you should, that they are going to come in, they are going to establish their religion, they're going to establish their faith, and guess what? You are going to be trapped in it. But he says, in this dark time, we're still in chapter 8, he says, in this dark time, he says, don't worry, fear God and stand on God. And if you stand on God and fear God, chapter 9 is coming. See, in chapter 9, he says hope is coming. In chapter 9, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. At chapter 9, a great light is coming to the land. A child is going to be born. And so we got to how can we understand this picture, this world that Isaiah was talking to when he was speaking this word? And we just got to paint the picture in modern terms and think of how a lot of us feel about ISIS and their darkness that they're spreading all over the globe. I mean, it doesn't matter if you live in the Middle East anymore. They're coming for you wherever you are at. Okay, I mean, just last week we were told that we were safe from ISIS, and then 2 days later, people who have sworn their allegiance to ISIS go into a government office in California and shoot up people and kill them. And it just seems like there's nothing that can be done to stop them, because I think if we knew what to do to stop them, it would have already been done. But it feels like a darkness is going unchecked. It's continuing to launch terror attacks with no hope or possibility of it coming to an end soon. And if we feel that way living here in the United States, just think of the people who live under their authority over in the Middle East where they actually rule the land. I mean, that has to be a scary proposition. It's not just a really dark time, it's black as night. Death, decay, and destruction surround them. They are forced to worship the God that ISIS worships, and if you don't, you are put to death. See, the despair is real, and it feels like it's never going to end. See, many of them are hoping that the West or Russia is going to come and wipe these people out so that they can feel some sort of hope again. But there isn't even hope in that. There's nothing happening on this front, and the people living in the land, they have lost hope. That's why there's all these refugees. That's why they're fleeing. That's why they're running. They're desperate in a search for hope. They're so desperate, they're willing to travel thousands of miles for a glimmer of hope. They will leave everything they know behind in hopes that they will be able to make a better life someplace else. That's desperation. And that is what the Israelites felt when they heard that the Assyrians were coming, and not just coming, but coming to shatter them as a nation. It was dark. And think about darkness for a minute. I mean, when I say the word darkness, what kind of images pop into your head? What kind of things do you think of when you think of darkness? I'm not a fan of darkness. I mean, I hate wintertime, and one of the primary reasons I hate wintertime is the sun goes down so early. I mean, it just drives me crazy that by 6 o'clock, it's dark outside. And when we lived in Boston, it was dark by 4:15 at this time of year, okay? It got dark super early. You watch this beautiful sunset, and then you know that for hours and hours and hours, it's going to be dark. And not only is darkness dark, but it's also cold. What's usually the coldest part of the day? It's at night. And it's not like if you get cold at night, you can wait for the clouds to move out of the way so that the sun or the moon will shine down on you and warm you up. You just have to wait it out until the sun actually comes up, until the light reappears. There's no getting warm. When it's dark outside, it's hard to see things. The other day, I was trying to lock our doors. I was leaving the house, and I couldn't find the keyhole. I'm sitting there stabbing at our door lock, and I couldn't find it. I had to pull my phone out and turn on my flashlight app to find the keyhole to stick it in to lock the door. It's hard to see when it's dark. Not only it's hard to see, it's hard to get around. How many of you ever stubbed your toe or broken your toe walking through the house in the middle of the night when no lights were on? I think we've all done that. But darkness, it brings this sense and feeling of hopelessness. That's where Israel was at. That's how Israel was feeling, and with the coming of Assyria to invade the land. And I also believe this is how many people feel today. People feel depressed. They feel cold. They feel lost. They have a hard time seeing. But can I tell you that the force of hope has been awakened? Isaiah tells the nation of Israel in chapter 9 that the darkness was not going to last. Yes, it was dark. Yes, it felt hopeless. But there was hope and a great light that was going to come. The force of hope was going to be awakened. This great light was going to be a child that was born. And I know that most of the people who read this at the time assumed that the child would be an earthly king because that would make sense, right? Because Isaiah talks about this person breaking the yoke and rod of the oppressor, and the people that read that assumed that the oppression that Isaiah was talking about was the Assyrian kingdom that had come in, and so they were expecting some sort of king. They were expecting some sort of person who would come and set them free from this overwhelming thing that was on top of them from the Assyrians. But Isaiah was talking about more than that. There was a far heavier hand out there that was crushing people. There was a much deeper way that people needed to find hope. And it was being freed from their sin. And see, not being freed from your sin, that is true darkness. And that true darkness is with us today, just as it was back in the days of Isaiah. This true darkness is stealing hope. It's destroying lives and leaving peoples, families, cities, nations completely crushed. And if you want to point a finger at why the world is the way it is, it's because of sin. We cannot blame anything else. See, our country is not a mess because we don't have enough gun laws. Our country is a mess because of sin. Okay, our country is not a mess because Obama and the Democrats have made it that way or George Bush and the Republicans have made it that way. It's a mess because of sin. See, no government laws, no regulations can gain control of sin. Sin is doing what it has always done. It's stealing, it's killing, and it's destroying. There is one notable difference, though, between Isaiah's day and our day today. You know what that is? In Isaiah's day, they recognized sin. They knew that sin was in the world. They knew that it was there, that it was out there, that it was trying to get a hold of people and ruin their lives. But today, we've taken sin out of the equation. We tell people instead that we are basically good. Oh, you're basically good. You don't have any sin inside of you. You're a wonderful person. You're amazing. You're incredible. There's nothing wrong with you. And then we look at ourselves and we say, there's nothing wrong with me. Why is all this stuff going on? I'm perfect. Just like everybody else should be like me and they're perfect and there should be no problems. We just don't get it. And there's so many people in today's world that don't have hope, that just don't understand that. They look at this world, they look at the hopelessness of the world in which we're living in, and they say, I just don't get it. I don't understand. There should be so much hope here. And I believe this is why suicide rates continue to climb. Because people, they don't have hope, and they have no idea why they don't have hope. I think this is why addictions continue to become more and more prevalent than in generations past, because we have told people they're basically good, yet deep down inside people know there's something different, there's something wrong, there's something going on. And to do it in order to get hope, in order to feel good, they put themselves into stuff and get addicted to stuff in hopes that it will break the curse of them not having hope. There's a burden, there's stuff weighing people down. It's keeping them from so many things, but they don't know the solution. But this morning, can I tell you that the solution is found in the reason that we have Christmas? Hope is found in the reason that we have Christmas, and that reason is because a child was born. See, there's a force that's been awakened with the birth of a child, and that force is the force of hope. See, with the birth of Jesus, hope is once again available. Hope that sin and ultimate darkness, the ultimate yoke, the ultimate burden is finally defeated. And we're not talking it's just defeated, but it's utterly crushed. I mean, it tells us that in the text that we read here in verse 5. Verse 5 says, every warrior's boot used in battle and every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, will be fuel for the fire. Why will the warrior's clothes be thrown into the fire? Aren't we going to need warriors? No, we're not anymore, because guess what? It's been utterly destroyed and defeated, and we don't need to go into war anymore. This is what he is saying here. He's saying Jesus is coming. The light is coming. It's going to shine in this world. It's going to bring hope, and with that hope, everything else is going to be destroyed and ultimately defeated, and there's no need for it anymore. He didn't just defeat it for a season. He defeated it for all time. See, verse 7 tells us that his government will have no end. His rule will have no end. Sin is crushed. Sin is defeated. Sin is destroyed. And hope is restored to all who want it. Lewis, if you could come on back up. Since the birth of Jesus, this light of hope, this candle of hope that we have burning down here, this force has been restored. And if you are here this morning and you are saying to yourself, there is no hope, There is nothing that can get me through anything else anymore. I just feel the weight of everything on me. It's crushing down. Can I tell you this morning that Jesus has renewed, has awakened, has reborn, has brought back into this world hope, and the hope is there and it's yours in Jesus. He has restored that force. He has rebuilt that force. And there's nothing that can get in and destroy that force. He's defeated everything that comes against it once and for all. So you can still have hope in this world, even if it seems like ISIS is taking over the place. You can still have hope in this world, even if it seems like Turkey is trying to start World War III. You can have hope in this world if tsunamis and earthquakes and hurricanes and all kinds of other crazy stuff are coming, because Jesus has destroyed everything that gets in the way of our hope. And it's available for everyone in this room this morning. Hope is available. This is what Christmas is about. It's about the hope in a child that was born 2,000 years ago in Bethlehem. And he can give you hope.
I really hope you enjoyed that message from our Christmas series, The Force Awakened. If you did, please click the like button below and let us know. If you have any questions about us here at Fam Church, you can go out to myfamchurch.com and all of your questions will be answered. And thank you once again for joining us online at Fam Church.